Ever wondered if your advertising dollar is really working for you? If your ad would have been here, you and more than 4 million people would be listening to it right now. Contact ads at xzoneradiotv.com.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
In a world where shadows dance and dreams take flight through the veil of reality into the night, Rob McConnell leads the way, a beacon so bright. With over 35 years, he ignites the light. A voice from the north where whispers are bold, stories untold in the echoes of old. Fact meets fiction in this realm of delight, in the X Zone where dark turns to bright. Welcome to the X Zone, believe and be free, a sanctuary for truth that dare to be seen, where the line between realms gently blurs, in a symphony of voices the mind stirs, with Rob McConnell stories unfold, tales of the unknown that shimmer like gold.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. From the world of the unknown to the edge of scientific discovery, this is the X Zone. Tonight we welcome a man who has dedicated his life to bringing clarity, credibility, and scientific discipline to the mysteries of the paranormal. My guest this hour is Elliott Van Dusen, President and Corporate Director of the Paranormal Phenomenon Research and Investigation, that's PPRI, a respected nonprofit organization focused on the scientific investigation, research, and education of paranormal and unexplained phenomenon. With decades of experience in parapsychology, field investigations, and academic-level research, Elliott and his team are committed to exploring extraordinary claims using ethical standards, scientific methodology, and critical thinking, separating fact from fiction in a field often clouded by speculation. From hauntings and apparitions to consciousness and survival beyond death, Elliott Van Dusen is helping redefine how we understand the unknown. Joining me now from Canada's East Coast is Elliott Van Dusen. Elliott, welcome back to the X Zone. Always a great pleasure having you with us, my friend.
Thank you very much, Rob, and it's always a pleasure to appear on the X Zone.
Before we went to air, you were telling me that, was it this past weekend that you were in Fredericton?
Yes. Yeah, Fredericton. I received a call from Carla Shepard, who puts on a holistic event biannually, and she had called me up and knew a mutual friend of mine, and knew that I organized the Halifax Paranormal Symposium, and
right.
She asked me what I thought about hosting a UFO conference in Fredericton. And I said, well, Chris Stiles and I were there just about a year ago, and I said, the attendance was a little low. Like, we only had maybe 20 people show up, but, what are you thinking? And she's like, well, just thinking on having a few guest speakers, wouldn't be like a full day conference, like maybe a half day. And, can certainly piggyback off of the holistic crowd. And I'm like, yeah, it's like, it would be, worth doing, and any support you need, I'll help you out. And I recommended, some guest speakers for it and stuff. And next thing you know, the venue she had rented, it was a Government of Canada building, actually the forestry department, but they had a auditorium in there that could hold 260 people, and it sold out.
Wow.
Yeah, I was very, very surprised. Not only that, but CTV was there. I saw the video today. They were mostly interviewing Chris Stiles about his Clear Sweep 5 Shelburne USO incident. And then there was also a really well-done newspaper. She got a lot of attention, and it's something she wants to continue on in the future. So I'm certainly a big proponent to that. We don't have as many paranormal conferences in Canada as they seem to do down in the States. So, anyone that takes on this venture, I think it's absolutely great. And like I said, I always am there to lend a hand. And this one did really well. So I was happy for it.
Elliott, what first sparked your interest in the paranormal and led you down this path? Since you were on with us last time, we have a number of great new affiliates, not only in Canada, but the United States and the United Kingdom on the CanCom broadcast network. So could you share the voyage and what sparked your interest in the paranormal? You're a former member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and as I always say, thank you for your service.
Well, thank you for your service as well. I get asked that a lot. I never had like a particular experience that got me, involved in the paranormal. When I was a young boy, I'd watch Ghostbusters, and then the next thing I remember is Unsolved Mysteries really caught my attention because I knew I wanted to be a police officer. Ran in the family. I had Toronto police and Ottawa police family members. And Unsolved Mysteries was fantastic because it was always those really cool cold case murders. And then they tease you with a UFO story or a ghost story, which I also found, really fascinating. But then fast forward to, when I was about 14, 15 years old, it's 1997. I came across a TV show that had already been on air since 1993 called The X-Files.
Oh, right.
And I thought that was absolutely mind-blowing that you had two, law enforcement officers investigating crimes of possible supernatural phenomena. So that caused me to create my nonprofit organization, PPRI, which was established in 1997. And we started out by, collecting local folklore and interviewing people and listening to their experiences. And it's been a 28-year journey and still counting.
Speaking about the X-Files, I was reading where there's a new version of the X-Files coming on, and David Duchovny is teetering with the producers about doing some guest appearances. They're keeping everything very close to their chest right now, but as soon as we find out some more information, we'll share it with you. Scully and Mulder,
it is true. It is. They're supposed to be doing a reboot. I know Gillian Anderson said she's read some of it and she supports it. And actually, a very cool thing had popped up on Facebook a couple months ago. I saw that David Duchovny had agreed to appear at SpaceCon in Texas with Gillian Anderson, and I have never had the privilege to meet either of them. And so I talked to my wife, and we said, you know what, let's do it. We're going to Texas in June. I bought my tickets. I got to meet them. I got to tell them that, hey, you guys are the reason I still do this. And so I'm very excited.
Fascinating, truly fascinating. Speaking about the PPRI, what does the PPRI do? Now, I know, and I've had the pleasure of talking to you many times on the air. But like I said, we've got new listeners, and they're probably saying, what are these two guys talking about? PPRI.
Yeah, it's a nice, simple name. I like it, and it pretty much sums up what we do. Paranormal phenomena research and investigation. I will say, though, we do have 3 objectives. So our objectives are investigation, research, and also education. Plays a huge proponent in what we do. We're completely nonprofit. We're all volunteers. There's no paid positions. Most people already work a full-time job, so they donate their hours what they can to me. Same with me. I'm retired and medically retired from the RCMP, so I try and do what I can as well. But we only investigate reactively. So if a member of the public contacts us and needs assistance, we do a screening process. We also look at our finances because we are a nonprofit. I have to do a lot of fundraising, organize events throughout the year, I donate any proceeds from my books to go back into the organization so that it doesn't cost anyone from the public to use any of our services. We also do a little bit of research, mostly share other researchers' requests for, them to fill out surveys and things like that. But we do have a current academic research project on the go involving dissociation and the paranormal. And then, of course, education is a big proponent. We do public ghost hunts, but we add like an educational component to it. I also organize the Halifax Paranormal Symposium, which is going into its this year, and that's a big part of our objectives as well.
What separates the PPRI from other paranormal organizations out there?
Well, a lot of us come from some sort of professional background. I'm retired RCMP. I've got a psychiatrist on staff. I've got a retired Royal Canadian Navy member. I've got my brother-in-law, Andrew, is our director of our UAP unit. He's retired Royal Canadian Air Force and was an air traffic controller for the Air Force. My wife has a background in human resources. So she's our chief resources officer. Has a skill set. She's clairvoyant, which means she can see things, clairaudient, which means she can hear things, and she also can do psychometry. So if you have an item or an object, she can usually read the history or get the energy from that object. So we all seem to have a very special background, whereas I see most organizations are kind of hobbyists or just people that are interested, might not necessarily have, a background in parapsychology, just out there, trying to give it their best and do it for fun. Whereas, we're more kind of on the academic side, serious, professional side.
Yeah, I was looking at some stats the other day, and I was amazed at how many armchair paranormal investigators there are.
It has exploded, and Daryl Walsh and I have talked about this before, that we seem to get a lot less cases now just because there are so many groups. Like if you typed in, paranormal investigator Nova Scotia, you're probably going to see a ton of people and a ton of organizations. But back in the 90s, there wasn't very many people doing this, so we were quite busy back in the 90s, but it's certainly teetered off, I think, just because there's so many options out there.
And what about this? What about the what is it called? Paratourism industry that's popping up. How does that affect organizations like the PPRI?
Oh God, I was just joking the other day. Amherst, Nova Scotia has their historic jail up for sale right now. And I was talking to two of my team members, and I said, guys, how cool would it be to buy this?
Yeah.
Turn it into like an Airbnb, but use all the money that comes in from it to fund PPRI, put it back in to do real research and real investigations. I said that would be so cool. But it's certainly a very popular thing right now.
Yeah.
Like you said, Rob, I know the Conjuring House is being battled for right now. You got Matt Rife and his colleague there that just gained the rights to the Warrens Occult Museum and purchased Ed and Lorraine Warren's house.
Elliott, I hate to do this, but I went a little bit over, so we're going to have to go to a break, so please stand by. Exo Nation, Elliott Van Dusen is my very special guest. He is the gentleman behind PPRI.net in Nova Scotia. Things that go bump in the night, ghost hauntings, and much more when we return to the X-Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, on the CanCom Broadcast Network and streaming around the world from our good friends at CFAJ AM 1220 in St. Catharines, who stream us at classic1220.ca. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
Every guest a new chapter with eyes open wide in this vast tapestry.
When the night feels heavy and the answers won't come, when your heart's out searching but you're feeling undone, there's a voice in the silence calling out your name, reading stars in the heavens, lighting up your flame. She sees the patterns past and present too, a cosmic map that leads you back to you. Ask calling.
Nation, our guest this hour is Elliott Van Dusen. He is the gentleman behind ppri.net in Nova Scotia. And if you'd like to find out more about them, about the cases that they've worked on, the courses that they offer, visit ppri.net. Yeah, we were talking about the paratourism industry, and I was talking to someone last week, and they were telling me that they run a local ghost tour business in Tucson, Arizona. And there's a major company that's going around buying up all the little mom and dad organizations. And if the organization doesn't want to sell, what they do is they just have their people go in, come up with the tours, and cut the price in half.
Wow. You know what? I actually heard something very similar, and maybe it's even the same company. But last year when I was speaking at the Thunder Bay Paracon there in Thunder Bay, Ontario, there was a lady from Duluth, I think, down in the States, and she was telling me the same thing, that basically this company had just rolled into town and were undercutting, the tickets, and they were brand new to the area. You know, they didn't have the history like she did, and I didn't realize it was probably as widespread as she was saying that. But that's unfortunate.
You know, over the years, I've come to realize that people like yourself and tour operators, and like our good friend Larry Lawson at the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, you people are more than researchers. You're more than investigators. You're historians. You keep history alive.
Yeah, one thing I'm noticing is, believe it or not, when I go around Nova Scotia and I lecture, I usually talk about our two famous poltergeist cases, the Great Amherst Mystery with Esther Cox, and the Fire Spook of Caledonia Mills with Mary Ellen McDonald. And I'm starting to find that there's a lot of people that are not even aware of that case anymore. Before, if you mention those two cases, everyone in Nova Scotia heard that. And it's seems to be kind of dissipating. So you're certainly right there. We do try and keep that paranormal history, especially like maritime and Canadian paranormal history.
Are there any ghost ship sightings in Nova Scotia?
Yes, there are. Yeah, the teaser is one that certainly gets reported. A lot of people will often report seeing it on fire. And then sailors think that if you are unfortunate enough to see it, it's usually to warn you of some sort of, pending disaster. There's also another ghost ship, whether or not it's the teaser or not. Different people have given different descriptions, but the Northumberland Strait has had a ghost ship down around Chester, so the South Shore of Nova Scotia. They've seen, the teaser and ghost ships there. There's been a ton of shipwrecks in Nova Scotia, off the coast of Nova Scotia. So really, I'm not surprised that people would see, the apparition of a ghost ship around here.
I would imagine with the history that is tied to the city of Halifax, the Halifax explosion, and then the people from the Titanic that were brought to Halifax, that Halifax must be very rich with paranormal activity.
Oh my God, yeah. No, the Nova Scotia and the Maritimes are an absolutely fantastic place to be a paranormal investigator, researcher. Downtown Halifax certainly rife with haunting stories. Like you said, there was the Halifax explosion, which killed multiple people. There's a little girl named Annie that was at a schoolhouse that had perished during the Halifax explosion. It's now the Supreme kind of family court. And I've had a sheriff friend personally tell me that he's seen her walking on the cameras when there's nobody else in the courtroom.
Oh my gosh.
So she certainly, haunts the courthouse. Obviously the Five Fishermen, excellent restaurant, by the way, but it's a very popular restaurant downtown Halifax. It used to be Snow's Funeral Home. So that place has housed bodies from the Titanic and Halifax explosion. Very, very well known to be haunted. so many different locations, Citadel Hill, the fortress, lots of reports of, specters and spooks sneaking around there at nighttime. Inns, you name it, inns, restaurants, taverns. So much history. It's a great spot to do your research.
As a professional parapsychologist and as a professional investigator, how do you explain how ghosts or spirits can be seen on closed-circuit TV cameras in a courthouse?
Yeah, that's one thing that we're always trying to figure out is, how can a ghost put its voice on a digital recorder or magnetic tape, or, how can they sometimes appear on video cameras and other times not? I think based on what we know, which is subjective, through mediums, the information that they get, we believe that it takes a lot of energy for them to manifest. So some of them can manifest, some of them can't. I also think that it depends on the person as well and how open their psi abilities are. I honestly think that there's some people that probably will never see an apparition. I just don't know if their mind can actually see it or not. I haven't been fortunate. I've been searching for 28 years. I haven't been fortunate enough to come across one unless I ran into one that I didn't know, because there are, ones that are not just translucent. They're as real as you or I. But I do think that certain people can see them. And I do think that it takes a significant amount of energy for them to be able to manifest themselves on like a recording device or, appear on camera or in front of somebody.
Is that why there are more ghost sightings and spirit sightings during thunderstorms, because of the electricity in the air, that it's easier for the ghost or the spirit to manifest itself?
Weather has played a factor in not just ghost sightings as well, but other paranormal phenomena, UFO sightings. That is one theory: low atmospheric pressure. Thunderstorms that can help with that.
Well, that was unfortunate. I apologize for that. Seems like my producer got a little. What did you do? Hit the wrong button, Craig?
Either that or it was a spirit.
No. He said he was. No, it was him. It was him. Yeah. Let's not get into Craig and his spirits. That's for another show. The weather in general. How about the moon? Does that play any part in hauntings and apparitions?
That's a interesting theory too. Well, I mean, we certainly know that like Earth's geomagnetic field and Earth's geomagnetic activity certainly plays a role in paranormal phenomena. Yeah. Excuse me. The moon certainly has a lot of folklore and paranormal belief with it, but there are some psychological and perceptual effects that can happen with a full moon. Some people, report sleep disturbances, for example. So that can create those really vivid dreams, or it can disturb your sleep cycles. Certainly, there's increased light at night with a full moon. So we know that lighting, especially like low lighting, can affect people's perceptions. And then, of course, there's always belief. We seem to see that when people are believers of the paranormal, they are more likely to experience the paranormal. And then, of course, exception bias, which is if people believe that there's strange things happening, especially during a full moon, then they may actually interpret some ambiguous stimuli as paranormal phenomena.
In your opinion, once again, as a professional parapsychologist and a former and current investigator, how close are we to finding the proof that will be undeniable that the paranormal is real?
I think we're definitely getting closer. Like when I started this back in 1997, the government wouldn't even say that UFOs exist. And now I look at, how far we've come with that, where, we've got reputable U.S. military saying there's crash discs and crash bodies, and now there's senators and especially Tim Burchell and Luna there down in the States really pushing for disclosure, and even seeing things grow within parapsychology. The work of Dr. Sam Paran at New York University, who has done 2 projects where he brings people back, if they crash and they die, and he knows for sure. He said he could empirically say he knows human consciousness can exist outside our body after death for at least 2 hours. And he bases that on some of the people that they brought back and interviewed because they had such specific information. They were bedridden, for example, and this one gentleman could tell which lights were burnt out on the helipad on top of the hospital, and when the researchers went up to go and check it, sure enough, those exact lights were burnt out, yet the person was bedridden and couldn't have got up to the roof to check for himself. So I do think that in the future we may end up solving some of these mysteries, and cryptozoology is a great example of a field where sometimes we do solve them. A couple of years ago, the giant squid was just that. It was just a cryptid, but scientists actually have now captured a video of the giant squid. So we know that the giant squid is now not a cryptid. It's a real creature that exists in the ocean.
Stand by, my friend. You and I have to take our break at the bottom of the hour. In Exonation, our guest this hour is Elliott Van Dusen. If you'd like to find out more about Elliott, the work that he's done, the work that he does, if you'd like to contact them for a problem that you're having of a spooky kind, or if you'd like to take one of the courses that they offer, buy his books, whatever, one place to go, www.ppri.net. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We're coming to you on the CanCom Broadcast Network and streaming on classic1220.ca. We'll both be back on the other side of this break, so whatever you do, don't go away.
When the night feels heavy and the answers won't come, when your heart's out searching but you're feeling undone, there's a voice in the silence calling out your name, reading stars in the heavens, lighting up your flame. She sees the patterns past and present too.
Hey there, gather round, it's time for the show. The X Zone's where the wild mysteries flow. Rob McConnell's here with a voice so clear. Dive into Bigfoot, no need for fear.
In the heart of the woods where legends reside, with footprints and stories Uncle Sam confides. Patterson Gimlin, let's rewind that tape. Frame by frame, let's scrutinize the shape.
Expert guests and researchers on the line, with skeptics chiming in, forming quite the design.
Whether sightings are true or just a wild tale,
We're exploring every clue, let the mystery prevail. Searching for Bigfoot, oh what a ride. In the X Zone, we'll take it in stride. Thermal navigation and whispers at night. Rob's got the scoop and he's shining the light. Keep your minds open, let curiosity reign. In the search for the truth, there's so much to gain.
Elliott Van Dusen is my special guest this hour, Exonation, www.ppri.net. Elliott, when it comes to Bigfoot, is there any advancement in the actual identification of this creature?
That's funny. Your tune was really catchy talking about Bigfoot. I just read this morning that there were 3 Canadian reports of Bigfoot reported in Chatham, Kent, Ontario there last week. But you know what? Talking with Daryl Walsh, he likes to research Bigfoot and cryptids a lot more than myself. He's starting to kind of lean towards the interdimensional theory. At first he was more, it's going to be like an ape-like creature.
Right.
Probably avoids detection. Can't seem to locate it. But the more he digs into it now, the more he's actually starting to subscribe that they possibly could be interdimensional beings, and a lot of other paranormal phenomena is starting to look at that as well, as we get more and more quantum physicists that are interested in parapsychology and trying to help crack the code, I guess, with the paranormal. But UFOs certainly, you can make an argument about them being interdimensional as well. I've seen some shoot up into the atmosphere like a ship or a plane would, but then there's times where they literally just disappear in a blink of an eye. And some people think that they're accessing some sort of portal or interdimensional gateway there to travel. So a lot of people are kind of looking at Bigfoot may possibly fall into that realm. Certainly, we've the only evidence we've really come across are what people have claimed to be nests and footprints and casts and different things like that, but still haven't caught one.
Not yet, or you haven't been driving down the road in the mountains, whether it's going through BC or some of the mountains that you have in northern New Brunswick. And I've seen deer strapped onto a car. I've seen a moose strapped onto a car. I've seen a bear in a trailer, but I've never seen a Bigfoot strapped on the car. And as a former law enforcement agent, if Bigfoot is a relative of humans, if somebody was to shoot and kill Bigfoot, would this raise some legal and ethical questions?
Oh, I'm sure it would, and I'm sure that there would be some very upset people. Yeah. I mean, it would give you your proof, and of course, pathology examination would certainly shed light on their anatomy and reproductive system and all that stuff. But yes, I do think that if somebody did shoot one, it would probably upset some people for sure.
A couple of years ago, there was a group out of the States that was actively going out into the woods, and this was for a reality TV show, where the aim of the show was to shoot and kill a Bigfoot. Now,
I've never seen that one.
Pardon?
I said I've never seen that show.
Well, that's because it aired for one episode, and then the networks dropped it like a hot potato.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if they got some negative feedback about it.
Oh, I'm sure they would have. Even MUFON now is talking about the possibility of Bigfoot being part of the UFO phenomenon. And I've often wondered, is this because of Star Wars, when you have Chewbacca, which resembles a Bigfoot, being part of the Star Wars series?
Certainly, you can see some resemblance there. It's interesting because the land cryptids, like I do feel that we have a better grasp on the Canadian landscape and North American landscape. So the land cryptids are a lot harder to explain, like how come we haven't come across them. Whereas, I look at our ocean and how vast it is and how we're always, discovering new life forms there. And like I said, even just last year or in 2024, they found the giant squid.
Yeah.
So certainly there are creatures on this planet that we're still not familiar with. I do think that it seems to be a bit less on the land aspect, but some creatures are smart. I'm dealing with mice in my pantry right now, and oh my god, like they're avoiding traps, and they know that the peanut butter is just a trap, and I've got live traps, I've got kill traps, I've got cotton, not cotton, I've got copper wire strung in their holes, and they find a way. They're resilient. And I started beekeeping last year as well, and bees are very honeybees are very resilient as well. They've been around for millions of years. They really don't need beekeepers. We just kind of keep them comfortable during the winter, but they've survived for millions of years on their own.
So tell me, have you thought of getting a cat?
You know what? I thought about borrowing my sister-in-law's cat. We actually have 3 dogs, and they're constantly on the hunt for them. My female Shih Tzu was chasing one in the kitchen there today. But yeah, they're resilient. They find places to hide. They find food sources. Even talking with pest control, he's told me about we have a big rodent problem here in Nova Scotia. And he was talking about how even the rats are adapting to the poisons that they use.
Oh my gosh.
So he said they're actually testing a new kind of rat poison where it will basically destroy their reproductive system, so that if you have an infestation in an area and they eat this poison, it'll help them stop reproducing, because they rapidly reproduce, and we're just infested with them here in Nova Scotia.
A morning after pill for mice. Love it.
Science is always working on something.
I wonder what Mickey Mouse would say.
No, I probably wouldn't be happy about that.
I just like to touch on science and the paranormal, because I know that you're heavy into the scientific aspect. Like, in your opinion, can the paranormal truly be studied scientifically, or are we still lacking the right tools?
I think it can be to a point, and I was talking about this quite a bit in Fredericton, because we were talking about replicability, and I just gave them an example. There was a haunted house we were investigating in Amherst, and we were getting an anomalous reading coming on our electromagnetic field radiation detector from a cast iron pot. And a cast iron pot does not emit electromagnetic field radiation. So, of course, the first thing we do is check, okay, is there any other sources of electricity that would be causing the device to go off? And there was a pot light above it, and there was a 2-prong kitchen outlet to the right of it. But as you put the EMF towards either of those, the reading actually got weaker and dissipated, because they were actually very well shielded. So the reading was coming from the cast iron pot. I eventually just lifted the lid up, and it stopped. And then I put the lid back on, and we tried to replicate it, and we couldn't. So not saying that is a paranormal event, but it was an anomalous phenomena. We were getting EMF readings from a cast iron pot, which should not produce EMF. And we couldn't replicate it. And that's what mainstream scientists don't like about field work with the paranormal, is it's not controlled. It's not in a sterile laboratory. You can't really replicate things like you can with other, facets of science. And that becomes really frustrating for some scientists. But it's what we're used to doing field work in the paranormal. We know that chances are you're not going to replicate it.
What kind of equipment do you use? Do you rely on in the field, and how reliable are they?
Oh, it's funny. The more I do this, the more I think that most of the equipment is not really helpful. I will say the EMF reader is helpful, because we know through like the work of the late Canadian neuroscientist Dr. Michael Persinger, that EMF can cause people to experience hauntings. So we have had cases where somebody's experiencing a haunting, and we found out that it was because they were being exposed to excessive amounts of electromagnetic radiation. When we would replace that alarm clock or whatever was causing it, their haunting would end. We also know carbon monoxide. There's been 2 cases there where carbon monoxide poisoning has caused somebody to see apparitions and experience a haunting. So we do have a gas detector that we bring with us. We do have a thermal camera as well, which can be handy, especially for, cold spots and hot spots. Usually true paranormal cold spots or hot spots, they won't show up on the equipment anyway, but your body will physically react. So you have the goosebumps and the hair will stand up on your arm. But it does become handy. I know one time when Jody was communicating with a spirit, she was talking about how she felt like she was getting colder and freezing. But the thermal camera actually showed that her body temperature had gone up 2 degrees. So it's good for, documenting that kind of data.
Got about a minute before we go to our break, and how do you address skeptics who say the paranormal research lacks credibility?
Well, I mean, certainly I don't think that it lacks credibility. I think it's the opposite. I think that parapsychologists have had to revamp their methods, especially in the laboratory, so stringently because of skeptics that parapsychology actually has some of the more stricter testing protocols than even just regular psychology studies. So I don't think that methodology can really be used against the paranormal as much as they used to back in the day. I think it's been tightened up quite a bit.
All right, my friend, please stand by. We have to take our final break for this hour, and time goes by so fast when you're with us. And as always, my many thanks to you for coming on the show tonight. Exonation, more of my guests this hour, the one and only Elliott Van Dusen from PPRI. Their website is ppri.net. And we'll be back on the other side as we continue talking about the strange, the weird, the bizarre. And no, I'm not talking about U.S. politics. Thanks, Craig. I needed that. We'll be back. Don't go away.
Hey there, gather round. It's time for the show. The X Zone's where the wild mysteries flow. Rob McConnell's here with a voice so clear. Dive into Bigfoot, no need for fear.
In the heart of the woods where legends reside, with footprints and stories Uncle Sam confides. Patterson Gimlin, let's rewind that tape. Frame by frame, let's scrutinize the shape.
Expert guests and researchers on the line. The skeptics chiming, informing quite the design.
Whether sightings are true
Where the mist rolls in from the river's bend, and the willow weeps for the long dead man. Cannon smoke and musket cries still echo under haunted skies. In the shadows by Queenston's hill, you can hear the marchers still. Drums of doom and bayonets gleam, awakening soldiers from their dream. They rise from the ground when the moon turns pale, whispering names on a cold night's gale. Through the streets of Niagara on the lake they ride, ghostly eyes burning from the other side. Hear their boots on the cobblestone floor.
Elliott Van Dusen is our special guest, www.ppri.net. Before we were talking about some of the causes of paranormal experiences, and you were talking about electromagnetic forces, and I understand that people who lived near high tension wires had experienced what they believed to be paranormal activity, which was just found to be the high EMF. But here we are in a world where we're surrounded with cell phones, G5, microwaves, Bluetooth, and so on. Has the paranormal community seen an uptick in cases as each one of these new wireless environments are brought onto the market?
We did have a case up in Amherst where there was a business that it was kind of interesting. I think it was a mix of psychology and environmental, this case, but these customers had come in one day and told the owners of this new store, oh, is this place still haunted? And they said, oh, what do you mean? And they said, oh, yeah, we heard this place was haunted, and it's been around a long time. And then after that, the new owners started to experience some paranormal phenomena. They heard footsteps when there was nobody there. They heard knocking at the back door when there was nobody there. But when we went there, we noticed that their equipment in their workroom was giving off such high EMF readings that we couldn't even have the REM pod in there. Anytime you would just turn it on, it would go off, and our EMF reader was going off. So you really couldn't even use anything in there. And I looked up the levels, and it was actually higher than like working in an industrial plant. So obviously the equipment there was giving off, such an amount of EMF that it's not healthy for you to work in that, especially, 8 to 12 hours a day. So I think we're seeing a little bit more of that with equipment, cell phones and stuff, not so much. More your natural kind of phenomena would still be with the, electromagnetic fields and that exposure. Infrasound is another one that we're seeing more and more of. So, we can usually hear sounds as low as 20 hertz. But below that becomes infrasound, where we can't hear it, but it can still affect and cause you to feel like anxiety, dread, unease, the feeling of a presence. Some people will actually report seeing shadows, but that's because the infrasound is making the viscous fluid in the eyes vibrate. So we do know that. And of course, infrasound can come from like HVAC systems or machinery, which is, pretty much everyone's got a heat pump in their home these days.
Sure.
So those are types of things that you do have to look for. Carbon monoxide is another one. Like I said, not too many cases of it, but there have been some. And then, of course, there's always misperception, pareidolia, both audio and visual, where our brain is designed to, find patterns and
Connect
fill
the
in.
dots.
Connect the dots. Basically, it was a survival mechanism. So we'll see figures in, photographs, or we'll hear voices in white noise and think it's an electronic voice phenomena. Those types of things. And then, of course, like I said, geological and magnetic anomalies with Earth's magnetic field as well can cause equipment to malfunction. Perceptual disturbances, different things like that.
How has television and the media shaped public perception of the paranormal? And in your opinion, is it for the better or is it for the worse?
I think it's, I looked at this once before kind of critically, and I do think it's got its advantages and disadvantages. I think one advantage is that certainly it's brought the paranormal to the forefront. Everyone's seen a ghost show or, unsolved mysteries or ghost adventures. But then on the other hand, too, and from my understanding, when I talk to the public, most of them know that those TV shows are not real and that they're over dramatized, which makes me happy in my heart to hear that. But I mean, there are some people where they think that is how you investigate. I've run into people like that. And that can be dangerous. Like I was on a public event once helping out another group, and I could hear this member talking about how he was gonna like yell and demand that the spirit show themselves, and I pulled him aside, and I had to have like a little ethical talk to him and just say, like, we don't do that, where I come from. If you subscribe to the survival theory, this was a person. Their human consciousness and personality has somehow survived bodily death. They're not a circus animal. They want to be treated with respect, just like you would. And he actually like toned his attitude down and kind of followed us and our footsteps for the rest of the night, which I was happy to see. I mean, sometimes you get people that don't care and they're going to do what they're going to do. But that was one where I had to pull the person aside, because with all my training, especially like all the ethics that we look at, that's just something you can't tolerate.
How is it when you have to debunk a case that someone who has contacted the PPRI really believes it's the paranormal.
You run into that sometimes, and I do tell people at some point if you're running into someone that is persistent that it's paranormal and the evidence just isn't there and that's what their belief is, you can't change somebody's true belief like that. So at some point you do have to kind of cut your ties and go your separate ways. We have had to do that with some people, just because they're adamant that it's paranormal or they want it to be paranormal. But
Right.
I will say for the most part, most people are pretty understanding, and when they get their explanation of what's happening, a lot of people are really thankful for that. I've analyzed some photos where it's like, oh, don't worry, this is just a lens flare. Like my professional photographers looked at it. This is what it is. Here's the report. And they're like, oh my God, thank you so much. I was just curious
Right,
what
yeah.
this was in my photo,
Yeah.
and I honestly didn't know. Thank you very much.
How has your work in the paranormal, Elliott, changed your personal beliefs about life and death?
I think it's made me a believer for sure. I mean, there's just too many experiences from reliable people from thousands and thousands of years dating back to ancient Mesopotamia that have experienced ghosts and apparitions and all the mediums that we've talked to
Right.
and that are in the parapsychological literature. I feel that there's just too much evidence out there to say that there's not life after death. Now, I mean, there's some paranormal phenomena. I have a harder time to believe in, I guess, but it's also because I've never experienced it. Maybe if I did, I'd be a believer. One thing I'm thinking is the folklore in Newfoundland about fairies, and northern Cape Breton has folklore about fairies as well. It's kind of a Celtic a folklore thing. But when you dig into some of those stories as well, parents used to tell their kids, don't go wandering in the woods or the fairies will get you, or there's been other kind of supernatural creatures that have always been used as a warning to kind of keep a bit of social control with children. So it makes you wonder how much of this is real, how much is this kind of folklore that's been instilled in us. It's still a fun mystery to try and figure out, though.
What advice would you give someone, Elliott, who believes they're experiencing paranormal activity?
The first thing I would say is keep a notebook, date, time, location of what the phenomena is and where it's occurring. That certainly helps us as investigators when we come in to take a look at, when are you experiencing it? Is there a pattern? It also helps you recall. If you end up having to report that to an organization, you'll be able to have better recall. And certainly don't be afraid to try and reach out to somebody. I mean, even if it's not in Atlantic Canada or the New England area where I have investigators, visit our website, ppri.net. I can put you in touch with, somebody that is reputable. I've done that for lots of people. I'll try and find somebody either that's associated to the Ryan Research Center or another reputable organization that's in that area and kind of point you in that right direction. We have helped other people like that as well.
And what are your final thoughts? What would you like to leave the X-Zone Nation with tonight? What's your message about the paranormal?
I think just keep an open mind and keep your eyes and ears open. The more eyes and ears out there, the better. Don't be afraid to report it. I know even at Fredericton, they always ask the question at these UFO conferences now, how many people have seen a UFO? Most hands go up. How many people have reported that UFO to somebody? And there's like one or two hands up in the air. So there's a lot of data out there that's not being collected. So don't be afraid to try and find those organizations, whether it's MUFON for UFO sighting or PPRI for anything. We do take UFO sightings as well. Don't be afraid to report it. Our organization really promotes that community don't have to be afraid to talk about this. And that's one comment that I always get about our Halifax Paranormal Symposium is the inclusivity and how people feel safe to come and talk about the strange and the unknown at this event.
Elliott, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's always a great pleasure talking to you, and I hope to have the pleasure of talking to you again in the near future.
Oh, for sure, Rob. I always love reconnecting with you and the X-Zone Nation.
Take care of yourself, my good friend. X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour has been Elliott Van Dusen, president of the Paranormal Phenomena Research and Investigation. That's ppri.net. If you'd like to learn more about Elliott's work, upcoming events, or research being conducted by his team, visit their website at ppri.net. To our listeners around the world, remember, the truth is out there, and sometimes it's closer than you think. I'll be back on the other side of this break as we continue investigating the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology right here on the X-Zone on the CanCon Broadcast Network and streamed around the world on classic1220.ca.
Where the mist rolls in from the river's bend and the willow weeps for the long dead men. Cannon smoke and musket cries still echo under haunted skies. In the shadows by Queenston's hill,